Hello, everybody. Really quick, my microphone was weird for this, but you can still understand me. But just so you know, I'm aware of it, and I was trying to fix it. So enjoy the show. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Jocular Junction. My name is Jordan with a silent PH in the middle, and we're going to go over all of the tabletop news and various things that are happening around the world. Mostly United States, I think. If you are a fan of this show and want to support it, you can do so over on patreon.com/Jordan with a PH in the middle, or you can subscribe to this channel and share the show with your friend and let them know that you like it. So let's dive in. All right, Holly Jolly Critmas. I was off last week, and this is a pre-recorded show, so I apologize, but I have many a weekend function happening. So I am running around doing all kinds of things on the weekends, and I'm happy I was able to squeeze this in tonight. So we're going to talk about the Artificer playtest. This surprised me. Wizards of the Coast dropped it this Tuesday, I think, and they dropped a video along with it that kind of have them talk about all of the things. It makes... in the long run, I think it makes sense that they're going to, they're going to have, they're going to have the Artificer be more of a core class, maybe, but I don't think that we're going to see this tied to an Eberron setting. So if tweaking this class is really going to be like a year out, then we're going to get the Forgotten Realms campaign and player's guide is going to come out at the end of 2025. And it makes me think if the Artificer will be in that book, will be part of the Forgotten Realms setting instead of added directly into a Eberron setting. This has been a fun class to watch because it's evolved quite a bit since it first started. And all of the playtest stuff was kind of like, what? And then it got released, and then it got revised again in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, if I remember correctly. So there's lots of tweaking going on with this class. And from what I've read and seen on the internet, the tweaking this time hasn't been too much. It's kind of like quality of life changes. So we'll see. And I'll talk about it a little later, but I think one of my players in my Spelljammer 5e game kind of wants to play this Artificer. He was looking at the playtest and was like, oh, well, if I can do it with the new rules, then maybe I will. So, yeah, I think it's more of the same. I played an Artificer up to level 9 or 10, and I had two wands, and so I'd fire cantrips and stuff out of it. But I think my other wand was actually the cannon that you can have, but you can say that it's like small enough to fit in your hand, so I just had these dual wands. And I'm assuming I could make this happen with this new stuff. I just have to look into it a little bit more. But then again, when am I going to play that character? And probably never going to play that character again, which is sad. That is the sad reality of Dungeons & Dragons sometimes. So the Artificer playtest is here. Looking at the schedule for WotC, we have the Monster Manual 2024 coming out in February. So previews should be coming mid-January, I assume. I haven't heard, but I assume. And then we have a Dragon Anthology. I can't imagine the Artificer being part of the Dragon Anthology. The starter set in the fall, also can't imagine the Artificer being in the starter set. And so Forgotten Realms player and / campaign guide, it's got to be, they're planning the Artificer to be in there, I'm assuming, or early 2026 there's going to be an Eberron campaign setting, but I really think that would be dumb to release two campaign settings at this, like, back to back. So it makes me think that it's going to be part of this Forgotten Realms player guide or campaign guide. I'm excited. I was never expecting the Artificer to be in the core book, like some other people were expecting that. But I also, I don't know, I'm just kind of surprised that it's coming out this early. I thought that maybe we would get like a year of playing the game and then some more subclasses added. But right out of the gate, we're getting more Artificer, like a brand new class. So it's kind of interesting. I shouldn't say brand new because it's tweaked from the original, but you know what I mean. Moving on to non-WotC news, there is this January a 36-word RPG jam. So I didn't know much about this, but it opens December 31st at 5 p.m. and it goes for the month of January. And you have to write, this is a jam, I'll just read it. This is a game jam, is for the 36 words RPG. The goal of the game jam is to get people to create RPGs and to experiment with rules-light mechanics. So apparently they did this before with a 12-word RPG jam, a 24-word RPG jam, and then this is the next one up from that. And you have to write an analog role-playing game in 36 words. That is all you have. So it's kind of interesting. They showed off some of the winners from the previous jam, or not winners, but I guess the top people. Maybe there is a winner. I'm not really sure. This one, Descent, caught my eye. Which is kind of cool. It just looks really dark. And so if you are an artist and a creative person, why not jump in? You can go over to Itch, and there's a link down below in the doobly-doo if you want to check it out. But I love little jams like this. I think it's cool, and you get some really creative stuff for some really creative people. So that's check it out. Keep an eye on it at least this January. Secret Level Amazon show. So Amazon released a show called Secret Level, and it's got a bunch of anywhere from like I want to say 8 to 15 minute shorts based on video games. And I've watched just 2 currently. The episode 1 is the Dungeons and Dragons episode, and it's fun. I think it gives a good like vibe of Dungeons and Dragons, and it takes the world to be very magical and very I don't know, like serious, I guess. These are high stakes for these people in the world, and it was fun. It was good. I really liked it. So if you are an Amazon Prime member, you can probably watch that or find it somewhere else to watch it, but I encourage you to do so. The second one I watched was Mega Man, which was awesome. It kind of sets up a cool thing, and then it has this really awesome camera shot, and then it ends. But I thought it was really cool. I'm a big Mega Man fan, so that was super fun. Transitioning over to crowdfunding and deals. There isn't a lot of crowdfunding going on. Oh, there are some deals, though. I should put that in. So Humble Bundle. So let's go over here to Humble Bundle. There is actually a Free League Humble Bundle. So for $18, you can get 29 items. None of them are print, I believe, so it's just PDF. But you're going to get a whole bunch of their Year Zero engine stuff. So Mutant Year Zero, Tales from the Loop, Forbidden Lands, and then like all of the stuff on top of that. It looks like there's a Dragonbane core set, a Bestiary for Dragonbane, the Bestiary for Forbidden Lands, a bunch of Coriolis stuff. So if you like those D6 games that they have, Simborn is, or Simbarom, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. That is a dark version of their one. So it's kind of like I don't want to call it the Ravenloft, but it's like the dark, sinister medieval fantasy that is popular. So I should check out Coriolis though. That seems like it would be a really kind of a fun system. I like the art a whole bunch. But anyway, I'll put an affiliate link down below if you want to check out the RPG Mega Bundle from Free League. $18 for 29 PDFs is a pretty good deal. And then I also found Terror from the Underdeep. So I watched Goodman Games. They did like a little preview of this. This is not out yet. Looks like it opens in 24 days on BackerKit. But this is a 5e like campaign, and I know other, like, I want to say, did Paizo make 5e big long fat campaigns? The only one I can think of is that like Drow Underdark one. But I thought this was interesting because I see a lot of like one shots or like small little adventures and stuff, but third party publishers actually making like a big 1 to 15 or 1 to 20 kind of adventure that could rival that of Wizards of the Coast, and probably will be better than some of the things that Wizards of the Coast has done. And Goodman Games is doing that. So this is a 5e only product. It's not for Dungeon Crawl Classics, although they were saying on the video that you could easily Like if you know both systems, you could probably like, make it work for DCC. But like they're really going in on 5e. And along with this, I talked about this in one of my other past Jocular Junction videos, is that they're working on their own version of 5e. And they talked about it a little bit more in the video that was talking about this Terror from the Underdeep, where they're like, it's not really like a new version, but it's going to be like an adjacent add-on thing. And I guess the biggest thing is they want to change advantage and disadvantage into going up and down the die chain. So advantage would be I roll a d24 rather than 2d20s, and disadvantage would be rolling probably a d16 rather than a d20. Because I think somebody did the math, and I could be wrong, but like advantage really kind of translates to +5, which is a lot. And they were saying in the video that like 9 times out of 10, if you have advantage with your bonuses, you're going to succeed. And this way with the D24 or the D18 or D16, it adds a little more stress of like, oh man, like I have a big chance of just rolling really poor. And I kind of like that. It's one of the reasons I like Dungeon Crawl Classics, is because if you can get up the dice chain to like a D30, it's really cool, but then you're like, oh, I rolled a 4. So some people like that, some people won't. I mean, advantage is very popular already in 5e. I can't see this system changing it very well, but it would be interesting to try out, and maybe I'll try it out in my Spelljammer game that I'll talk about. But a full 5e adventure path, Terror from the Underdeep. Apparently there's giants and drow and underground things, so it looks like it could be cool. But we'll see. Design. So I am, for those of you who don't know, I'm working on an RPG, because everybody's working on an RPG, tentatively called Modular D6, where I want to create a D6 system that is classless, and instead of having a class, you kind of like mix and match modules to build the type of character you want to play. And it's been evolving slowly. I don't get to work on it and play on it as much as I should, but I do work on it about as much as I want to, which isn't to say that it is a chore, but it is something that I work on for a little while and I need to take a break, and then I get excited and I come back and I work on it again. So this time around, I've been working on writing more modules, going through some of the Creative Commons spells that are just open to the public and reworking them to work with the language of Modular D6. And then I've been working out some other stuff, like calling them level points or stunt points or things like that, where you can use these points to do cool, interesting things. And it got me thinking back to a game called The Magical Land of Yeld, which now has a 2e version out. I don't have the 2e version, I just have the 1e version. But that game was designed with Final Fantasy Tactics, like grid tactical play a la Final Fantasy Tactics. They really liked that game, and that was a heavy influence on Magical Land of Yeld. And one of the things I like about it is you put down a chessboard or a checker table or a checkerboard, and that is your gaming mat. So the idea with that is I can, I don't have to go out and buy a whole bunch of stuff. I'm like, I raid Grandma's closet, I find a checkerboard table, and then I can put down marbles or Mancala gems or something to represent monsters, and we could play a tactical game of Magical Land of Yeld, or in this case, Modular D6. So, sometimes giving yourself a constraint opens up the creative mind. And so I was thinking I should really design this from the perspective of utilizing a chessboard as my game table. And so then what happens? Can I get out? If I back up too far, do I run into an invisible magical wall? And it got me thinking again of games that are shows or fiction that does that. Not unlike video games, where if I get to the edge of the map, I don't go any further. Like I have to kind of deal with the problem that's in front of me. And then also, it made me think of, not Tron, but, Reboot, the Canadian, cartoon show from the 90s called Reboot, where they would have the squares come down and cover them up, and then they would be locked in the game and they'd have to like solve the puzzle before they can go back to their normal lives. So it kind of got me thinking about stuff like that. It's just fun, but I realize I just don't have the time to sit and write and work on stuff as much as I want to. And then I find myself wanting to just like doodle or other things. And that's good too. But I think another part of me needs to like work on a theme and then get some art down to kind of surprise or inspire me. And so even if I'm just, doodling silly little stuff, it'll help me do that. So that's kind of where I'm at with Modular D6, but the latest version is on itch for free. You should check it out. I watched a show. It's on HBO Max. If you can watch this show, you really should. It's called Scavengers Rain, and I think it was 12 episodes. It's an adult animated show, and it's not adult in the sense that it's pornographic or things like that, but they do use the swear words and things like that. But it's animated, and these people have crash landed on an alien planet, and they've been there probably for months now, and they're trying to survive and get off the planet. And it is a perfect example of some things look familiar, but some things are very much not familiar. And it's just really interesting to kind of go through the eyes of the people on this world, and the art style and the use of nature, where they kind of like manipulate nature to do, they use these weird tentacle vines as a way to transfer electrical impulses to power something for a short amount of time. It's kind of stuff like that. And it really felt like I was like watching it thinking, I want to play a game in this world. Like, I don't know anything about it, but like, I want to walk around and poke things with a stick and see what they do, because that's what they did in the show. And it was just so interesting to watch. It had a very, very good ending. I guess it didn't get renewed for a season 2, but it did have a very satisfying ending to me, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And as far as inspiration for some of the games, like some of the Numenera style games that I like so much, where it's just weird stuff, that is unexplainable, but that uncanny valley in a way sometimes, I would recommend Scavengers Rain. It was really, really good. And on that thought, Lower Decks season finale. So Star Trek Lower Decks, I've enjoyed all 5 seasons so much. It's a great show. And I got all the way to the final season. I watched the final episode yesterday, and I was just like, man, this was such a good show. And it got me thinking about the upcoming Spelljammer game that I'm going to run, and how I'm really like that they could potentially get a ship like a Cerritos that is a home base that they control, that they can then take and go anywhere in, and this traveling ship, and that could be an airship, like not in space, but the idea of space travel, I'm being more and more drawn to it, and that I could literally have any planet in the world. Like, we could have a planet made of marshmallows, and I could do that, and it's fantasy and it's dumb, but I am excited to have those endless possibilities, I guess. So a lot of the other modules and stuff that I have, I'm hoping that I can maybe play with those and experiment with them and put them in my Spelljammer game to be like, this is just a very random world that maybe doesn't know about spelljamming, and you need to go convince the king to give you a crystal so you can do something. Like, who knows? But I'm excited for it. And Lower Decks kind of like super, I don't know, jazzed me up to have like more of that. And then also during this last couple weeks, we were talking about our Dragonbane game, and I guess because one of our players is going to miss like the beginning, and they didn't want to miss the beginning, we're going to run a series of one-shots. And they recommended, well, maybe someone can run Shadowdark. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to play Shadowdark. And another one recommended Mouse Ritter. So I don't know if we're playing one or the other or both, but it was like, man, I should reread Shadowdark. And so I did. And the concise, and I don't mean this, I mean this in the most flattering way, because I think it's a very excellent book having reread it. But the very concise and laconic explanations for how to play the game, I think are beneficial to the reader. Like, I read this and it just like boom, boom, boom. Here are the bullet points. Here's what you need to know. Like, I feel like I could just dive in very, very quickly. And it explains things super well. And then I was really looking at the layout to kind of say, like, well, what is working really well with this layout? And I noticed that there are a lot of full pages of art, but very little like sections of art within the text, except when you get to the monster manual and the magic items. And then there's more within the text, but that kind of makes sense because you're utilizing that as a reference. Whereas the other one, I shouldn't be broken up through the text. I should just be able to read and absorb it. And so for me, it was an interesting way of rereading Shadowdark was a good way to understand, like, what was the design principle behind this? And I like it. I thought it was really cool. So I hope that I get to be a player and play that soon. We'll see. My games, we were talking about Dragonbane in January. So originally that was going to be like pretty recently, but we're waiting for Dragonbane now. So it'll be starting in January. I think I'm going to be a dwarf merchant. I really like this idea of a dwarf merchant, and we'll see if I like the game. I played it at Gen Con, and I was like, I don't know, it just feels like a cool RPG, but like fantasy RPGs are a dime a dozen. And at the time I was like, I don't know if I'm really ready to, like I already had Dungeon Crawl Classics, and I had a couple other fantasy games, like the Old School Essentials, that I was like, I don't really need another one. Like, if I don't play 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, I could easily play these other fantasy-based RPGs that I like. But I'm excited to give this a try because, again, the guy running it is very excited about Dragonbane, and it's kind of been on my radar more and more. So I reread that book as well, at least for like character creation and playing the player's guide. And so I'm excited to dive in with my dwarf merchant. What should his name be? I don't even know yet. I haven't even thought of a name. I just was like, I like the idea of this like dwarf merchant. Shadowdark, maybe. I talked about that. I don't know what I'll play for that. There's only like 3 or 4. There's only 4 classes, right? Wizard, thief, fighter, priest. So I'll have to find one of those. I mean, there's other ones, but we'll probably play the core game. And then after Christmas, we're going to have my Spelljammer 5e game. I like modules. I like running modules. And I was thinking about where I wanted to start. And we're going to start with the 2024 rules. And because of that, I think I'm going to have everyone start at level 1. Normally, I'm like, okay, we'll start at like level 3 or sometimes 5, because 5 to 10 is like my favorite point to run players through, because I just feel like they feel powerful, but I can still scare them with stuff. And but with this, I think it would behoove me and all the players if we say, no, we're going to start at level 1 and we're going to go through this step by step. So I think I'm going to run the Spelljammer Academy. Yeah, so this is Spelljammer Academy, and for those of you who don't know, when Spelljammer was released, they had a free adventure that you could get, but from what I understand, you can't get this now, which I think is really, really sad, because I like the idea of it. So you start, I believe, in the Forgotten Realms, and you're on a random island that has Spelljammer-ish technology, and you are the new, like, recruits, I believe. Like, if we go over to Adventure Hooks, all the characters have volunteered for whatever reason to join the Spelljammer Academy, which is a shadowy enclave of spellcasters and swords for hire on the remote and mysterious island of Nimbrel, which is in the Forgotten Realms, and it is just like the spaceport for Spelljammers. So we'll create backstories, but they have obviously like volunteered to become part of this program. And I think this will be, I mean, I really liked this when I read it back in the day, and it is just a fun kind of like level 1 to 4 introduction to Spelljammer. It's got 4 sections to it. They each kind of end on a cliffhanger. And although I am sad because this adventure and the Spelljammer Light of Xaroxis, I forget how to pronounce it, the Spelljammer adventure in the box set, they don't utilize the fact that you can actually be some of the Spelljammer races or have those Spelljammer backgrounds. So that was one of the critiques where people were like, oh, well, why would I be a like Thrycreen or an Ooze or a Githyanki on Forgotten Realms and then go up into space. And I don't have a good answer for you other than I'm excited for that to be the case, because it will allow my players to be like nudged into Spelljammer and kind of enjoy it like that. So I don't know. I was reading this and I was like, I think this will be really great. We'll get them up to level 5 relatively quickly through these 4 or 5 little ships. And then I can jump right into Light of Xerxes and we can run that, which will take them, I think, to level 8 or 10. I can't remember. I think you end at level 9 or level 10. I can't remember. But after that, whatever I want. And if they still love those characters, I don't see why I don't just like run random Spelljammer missions. And just somebody in my Instagram comments were saying, so you're just going to make like One Piece in space? And I was like, yeah, that sounds like exactly what I want to do. like you nailed it. So I'm very excited, and I think this will be fun. Somebody else was saying that this is kind of like frustrating to run, but I don't know. I think I'll be able to do it pretty easily, and I can utilize some cool stuff. And the other thing is I got WizKids sent me all of the minis for Spelljammer for review purposes. So this is one of the few like campaigns that I could run where I'm like, oh, I have that Starship mini, and I have the GIF NPC, and I have all of the things. So all of the NPCs mentioned, I have minis for them, and I think that'll be really fun. And I did rework space combat to act more like 2e Spelljammer. And I think I can also pull a lot of 2e Spelljammer if I want to, as far as like worlds to visit and planetary generators and things like that. So I'm really excited. Like, I was excited for Eberron. Oh, and I wanted to explain. I'm not doing Eberron because my players are not as like die hard into lore like I am. And case in point, I think this will be really cool because they can start out knowing nothing about Spelljammer and then learn about it and get excited and ask questions that they're interested in. Whereas Eberron, I'm like, oh, you want to play a cleric? Okay, I need to explain how the gods work here and that they're kind of mysterious and things like that. And I feel like it's the same problem I have with Invisible Sun, where I want to play Invisible Sun so bad, but I need players who are also willing to dive into the lore for me. And not so much with Eberron. Like, I'm Eberron and the world of Invisible Sun, the actuality. Like, Eberron and the actuality are on very different sides of the spectrum. But Eberron is one where, you know, my players just want to have like beer and pretzels D&D, and I think that Spelljammer will deliver that better than Eberron. So I'll save my Eberron game for, I don't know, more like diehard Eberron fans who really want to dive in, like who are excited to play in Eberron rather than who just are excited to play D&D, because that's what my players are excited for. They aren't excited about Eberron, they're just excited to play D&D and hit monsters with their swords. So, yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is my pre-recorded show. My next show will be after Christmas, so I hope that if you celebrate Christmas, you have a happy Christmas. And I'm going to take some time off for Christmas, and one of my goals is to get through a bunch of backlog stuff for videos that I've been meaning to do, like all of those Dying Earth modules that I want to review, and then also get back into doing Greyhawk lore and history. And so I'm hoping in 2025 I can like schedule a bunch of stuff and make it happen. But I also am now currently working on a version of Hamlet for with some friends. And so we'll see how much time gets taken up by that. But you know, I gotta do the things that recharge my batteries and keep me happy. So thank you for understanding. Again, if you want to support things like that, subscribe, tell a friend, do awesome stuff like that. And if you want to follow any of those links down below, I will put them down below, including the affiliate link for that Humble Bundle. If you are so interested, I do recommend Forbidden Lands. I like that setting, and the game system's fine, but the setting I really like. So for sure, check it out. And that's it. And I will see you guys next time. Until then, Game on.